Wait, welcome to the X podcast. We are back for another week, and I can tell already this week is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
I'm with my friends, Raina, Hope, and Tucker. By the time this airs, it'll be 4 days until you and Anna are married.
Wow.
Yes.
So crazy.
I'll have a ring on my finger.
You'll have a ring on your finger. Colorado Springs.
Yes.
Wow.
Garden of the
Gods. How are you feeling?
good.
Yeah. Any percentage, nervousness, excitement, 90%, 10%?
Yeah. I'm dreading it a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm
Well,
like a little bit excited.
You're a little bit excited. I'm so pumped. I know a lot of the team will be there. A lot of people will be there. Raina, what was something crazy you did this past weekend?
Oh. Wow.
I actually threw a baby shower.
All right.
Yes, I did. For my husband's cousin is pregnant with twins.
Oh, that's
so
exciting.
we had a Disney-themed
Yeah.
baby shower. It was fun. Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
Hope?
Oh, something I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I went to a country concert.
You did. You
Yeah.
went, was it Tim McGraw?
No.
No,
I
Luke
went-
Bryan?
Luke Combs.
Luke Combs.
Luke Combs. There's a
Yeehaw.
difference. Yeehaw is
Country
right.
girl.
Country girl.
There you
Country
go.
in my roots.
So this is Tucker's third time on the podcast. Raina and Hope moved here from Nashville.
Yeah.
Like half
So
a year ago.
yeehaw, for
so
real.
yeehaw. But I wanted to have them here for a very specific reason today because there's a whole lot going on in the news. And one of the things that is honestly really, really tragic right now is that they are recording record temperatures on literally across the globe. So record temperatures in the Pacific Northwest, all over Europe, all over the place, which obviously brings us to the conversation around environment. And we wanted to have a
Yep,
conversation around so
The environment.
the environment.
Yeah.
And so Hope, when it comes to the environment, the climate, your part, what you're doing, can
Yeah.
you speak into that?
I am really passionate about recycling.
Yes. Okay.
She
Yeah.
bricks.
she bricks.
Have you heard of that?
No. What does that mean?
Eco bricking.
What is that?
You get like a container, and every time you have like a little bit of plastic, you like shove it down in there
Yeah.
to like
Create a
reduce
brick.
your plastic. So where you end up with like a brick. It's called eco bricking. It's a
I'll-
TikTok thing.
I'll bring
Is
my
that real?
brick
My
tomorrow.
sister, my sister's really, and I'm not trying to make light because we're, but it sounds like it. We're, Pastor Tim, we talked about last week. We're going to eventually have an episode where we really do talk about all things environment and global warming and all those hot button things. But my sister is very passionate about it, and she, to this day, has a bucket in the shower to catch the water.
No.
Like, I mean, passionate
Hey, if that's your
about
thing.
it. So if that's your
Yeah.
thing.
Love
And we have a lot of listeners that I know are really, really passionate about the earth and the environment and taking care of it. So it is a serious topic, but that is not actually the kind of environment I want to talk about. There is, I went on a rampage, if you were here a couple weeks ago, on my thoughts on reviving the lost art of customer service. And I'm very passionate about this. And so it got me thinking about this thing that has mattered a whole lot to me my whole life, and for lack of better words, it is the power of environment. The power of an atmosphere to shape experiences, to shape memories. I've always been oddly passionate about it. I think there's this thing I don't know if I've taken this test, but is it INFG? What's that weird
Yeah.
personality thing where
Yeah.
you almost have?
Myers-Briggs.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Like somebody told me one time, they're like, I think you have like this. It was like when you're sensitive to environments. Like I know this sounds weird.
Feelings.
Y'all probably think I'm really weird. I can't go to Audi. Is it Audi?
Aldi.
Aldi. Aldi. Yeah. I feel like I'm every time I walk in, I feel like I'm in the Dharma Initiative from Lost. It's just I can't do it. I just can't. I know they're like, well, you save money, and I'm like, I can't. When people ask me, like when I was sending you, I sent an official hope list when you were moving to Columbus because you asked, okay, what are the coffee places, restaurant places? And when I don't know about you, when I rate a coffee place, it is 50% coffee, 50% vibe.
Yeah.
Like the aesthetic really, really matters. Like it matters to me almost too much. In my old church, we would, when I was student pastor, and they do this here now, they nicknamed me Mr. Pipe and Drape. because I would pipe and drape everything because it was drilled into me a long time ago that the dynamics of a room, if you have a small number of people in an empty room, then it gets swallowed.
Right,
The energy gets swallowed. The energy
Right.
gets lost. And so to me, I've always, I don't know, maybe sometimes it's unhealthy, but I've always really, really cared about the details of an atmosphere and environment. And so I thought it'd be fun to have a conversation and see where it goes. And when I thought about the power environment, I thought about you three. Because you three, one of our values here in our faith context is excellence is our presentation. And so environment matters is kind of intrinsic to who we are. And, humbly, one of the things that we get to hear a lot when people come in is how the space makes them feel.
Yeah.
And not just the space and the aesthetics, but even what they feel environmentally. And so I want to talk to you three. When I think of you three, I think of an environment, but in slightly different ways. Raina, you are maybe the most organized,
Yeah.
let me massacre clutter person I have ever met. You hate clutter,
Yes.
which I love that about you. And that's even in one of our standards. I think we say we dispel clutter or we shun clutter. And so when it comes to details, when it comes to cleanliness, when it comes to efficiency,
She's
like
on it.
that
Yep.
side of atmosphere, there's no one better.
Yep.
Hope, when I think of you, I think of, part of your role is events. And you really care and all of you care about all these things, but specifics, I'm just targeting in on. You, when I think about the most, I think of like what you want people to feel when they enter a space. What you want people to feel in an event. What mood are you going for? And you when we do events, I mean, you go all out. Tucker, I think about several things. One, you create the environment digitally. You and several others, but you really take a lead on when people look at the window of our ministry through social media, through online.
Yeah.
You've created a climate and an environment that people feel before they ever step into our space.
Yeah.
And then obviously design, graphics. When we're creating booths, I know all three of you will partner together if we're doing like a photo op or a special day. And so I just thought it'd be fun. We can start wherever we want to start, but even just me saying that, you can riff on that however you want to riff on that. Have you always noticed that environment matters to you? When did you notice it? Why do you think it's so important? I'll start with you.
So Hope and I were actually just talking about this, and our story is very similar. But I'd say from a very young age, I really wanted to go into interior decorating or design. And actually, that was my focus when I first started college. I've always been just so fascinated with how you feel when you walk into a space or into somebody's home. And I just always wanted to be a part of making people feel a certain way. Like when you walk into a home and you just know if it's the type of place you can kick your feet up on the coffee table, or you walk in and you're like, I need to take my shoes off. You just know the kind of vibe that house has based on.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What's your house? I feel like your
Yeah.
house is like take your shoes off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My mom and dad's house is like that. Like you will take your shoes off.
Yeah,
There
for
are
sure.
vacuum lines.
No, you've been to my house. I have a dog, so if I could
Yeah.
figure out how I could get my dog to take
A
his
big old
shoes off,
dog.
And
can't ask
chickens.
people to do it.
Oh,
Not anymore.
Oh.
And bats.
Uh-oh.
that was not good for the environment.
Oh, okay, touchy
But-
topic.
Well,
Yeah.
they fed the foxes in the neighborhood very well,
The chickens?
Yeah.
Oh.
so they're gone.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, man. Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up.
So
honey.
sorry. The chickens were massacred in your environment.
Starts
So,
crying.
anyways. Yeah. So describe your house though. Did you ever think through, okay, this is what I'm going for. This is what I want people to feel.
For sure. When Todd and my husband and I first bought our first house,
Okay.
that was the most exciting thing to me, was like, okay, I can control and dictate how people feel when they walk in my home, and I
love
wanted them
that.
to feel welcome and comfortable, like a place they could just kick their feet up and stay and have fun. I don't know. So I feel like our house is still that way.
Yeah.
We're just kind of out in the country, so people don't just stop by.
Do you think people underestimate the power of an environment, the colors, the shapes, the arranging on the mood it can create for the people that experience it?
Yeah, I think there's certain types of personality that are more in tune to that than others, and that understand that that's what's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you walk into a room and you feel a certain way, I think we all have that personality where we know why that is, and
Right.
other people may not
Right.
it's more of a subconscious thing. But I think we understand that. We
Yeah.
walk into an environment and we know like, oh, the colors and the textures and the
Yeah.
music and everything,
Yeah.
the smells.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
all important.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, are all three of you, before I go on, I'm assuming all three of you are like me. Like, if there's an event or something going on, I'm even weird like this, even with my apartment sometimes. I'm like, there's almost like a checklist.
Yep.
Besides cleanliness, there's the lighting that I want to be right.
Yep.
There's music that I want going. There's almost like a checklist in my mind. Are you that way?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sort of depends. Hope, what about you?
I definitely am like that. But yeah, Raina and I, when we were chatting, I like always have cared about my room. My mom used to always make fun of me because I would reorganize and like redesign my room.
Like 2 in the morning.
too.
Oh,
like moving out of
yeah,
bed,
and then I'd
sweating.
be like, Mom, come look.
Yeah.
Like so happy about it. But I've just always cared about that, and I think it's just simply because I do care about environment. When I first moved here, it's been like 5 months now. I was so excited because it was gonna be my first apartment, like on my own without
Oh,
a
that's so
roommate.
cool.
And I was like, how can I make this the best? Like, so that when people come over, they like want to stay.
It is the best. I wish we could like post-edit, put a picture. You have this just vibey. You have neon. I mean, it looks like something out of a magazine.
I have a neon sign above the couch. I have, you can't paint the walls of an apartment. And I really don't know if I could have,
Well.
if I could do this either. Well, you could, I guess. But I put like peel and stick wallpaper. I did that. I have a disco ball in my apartment. So
There you go.
anyways, I just care a lot about that. And like Raina said, it's not just because of the way it looks, but it's more so because of the way it feels. And for me, yes, like selfishly, I want my space to feel good, but it's about the people that are walking through the door
Yeah.
and the people that I get to bring in. So
So for both of you, it's like, okay, this is from my mental clarity, but also almost as an act of hospitality.
yeah,
Yeah.
This is a way to host people.
Yes, for sure.
for sure.
That's cool. What about you? You did paint your apartment.
I did paint my apartment.
Oh, you live life on the
They
edge.
told us that we couldn't get our, what's it called?
Security deposit.
Security
Deposit
deposit.
back, yep.
We were like, yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
like dark gray. It's so
Yeah.
dark and
Yeah, your
sad.
place, or
Did you
it's
paint
where
it white?
Anna's, it looks so cool.
Yeah,
You painted it white?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if mine has always been an act of hospitality, but more so I just like to express myself through that. Like, it's fun to, like Hope said, like I would always rearrange my room. Like, even if it was the same thing, the same furniture,
Yeah.
it was like, it was just different.
Yeah.
And so you walk in, you're like, oh, I wonder what it's going to feel like to wake up, and I'm like looking
Yeah.
at the door and not
Yeah.
the window.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
stuff like that. I love moving, and we recently moved our offices over from the creative used to be in like a room up on the other side of the platform, and now we're up with the windows, and it was like, oh, this is a whole different. And now it's like old, so I'm like, okay, what
Yeah,
do we
what
want to
can
do
we do?
now?
But I assume that's almost different with you. Is that right? I feel like you would want to find your vibe, find a level of cleanliness, and keep it the same.
I actually like change more than you would think.
Really?
I really do, yeah. Because I'm with Tucker on that. Like, after a while, it's like, I don't know. But I have to have my back to the window, too. So it's like, I can't move
She's
too far.
particular.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of options up there. But I do like change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
So have all three of you always noticed this is something that matters to me?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you approach? I mean, because you all immediately went to where you live, your spaces. You mentioned up here. When you approach, for all of us in a church context, when you approach a Sunday or you approach an event, how do you bring that thought process to that?
I think it just depends. Like every Sunday, I get to lead worship, and so I feel like I kind of set the environment for the room and how people encounter God, and
Yeah.
that's really important. And
Yeah.
so we're intentional about things like energy, and we're intentional about our faces and like what we look like. And if we were all standing up here, closing our eyes, not looking, it's not really an environment of like we're doing this together. It's like this is really personal. So we're really picky about like our worship leaders. We're like, always have your eyes open because
Yeah.
this is something that we're doing together.
Yeah.
And then things like energy. It's like people come in here on a Sunday morning. They've had a long week. They're waking up early on a weekend. It's probably not their like number one priority of like
Right.
getting up early. And so we want to make it an exciting environment.
Oh, you bring the energy.
Bring the sweat.
You
Yeah.
do. High knees.
You
I think
close
about
every ring
every
on your
ring.
Apple Watch.
I think about that, but then I think about special Sundays. We want to capitalize and make it something that you remember. Because I think
Yeah.
back to like concerts or like big conferences that I've been to, and I remember like the photo
Yeah.
ops, and I remember
Yeah.
Right.
I went to a Bethel worship conference like 8 years ago, and I can still picture like what the photo op looked like, and like the color
Yeah.
was blue everywhere,
Yeah.
and I still remember like that shade of blue. And so like we want to capitalize on those moments, because like Easter and Christmas are like these big moments with
Right.
big messages, and so we want to
Yeah.
have like what's something tangible
Yeah.
that people can remember, like, oh yeah, that Christmas was the year like the sheet came down, or like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
that Christmas was, or that Easter was the year we had the plants everywhere and the big wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so
So
good. There's so
cool.
many things you said I kind of want to riff on, because I think a lot of times, I think we're fortunately in a time and age with the church where we've moved past some of the, oh, that's not spiritual. 'Cause I think for a while in the church, it was like, well, what does that matter if God shows up?
Yeah.
I remember, like when I lived in Atlanta, there's this is around 2014, 2015. There's still some of that talk of, why does that big church feel like they always have to do something really special along the walls, or bring chandeliers down at Christmas, or they always have to have these innovative things? And I'll never forget, I attended one of the experiences for Christmas, and Louis Giglio, the pastor there, stood up, and he told a story about how, because they had like 12 Christmas services, there were all these foreign exchange students from Iran, all Muslim, who heard that there was this really artistic place that actually valued design in the heart of the city called Passion.
Yeah.
All 9 of them showed up to Christmas, and all 9 of them gave their life to Jesus.
Yeah. Wow.
Because Louis stood up and said, we actually believe that because God is a creator, that we should express his creativity.
Yeah.
Erwin McManus says like this, he says, you were imagined to imagine, designed to design, created to create. And he says the natural result of spirituality is actually creativity.
Yeah.
And that all of us are more creative than we know.
Yeah.
And so I love that. But you also said something, I want to read something. It's a few sentences, but someone sent this to me. It's, I think, Fuller Seminary. They were sending out something to graduating students about the power of atmosphere. But it reminds me of what you just said, because basically they were making the argument that environments shape experiences and experiences shape memories.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And here's how they put it. They talked about an environment, because you kind of hit on, even in here, energy, on culture, and how there's the culture and there's the aesthetics. And they said it this way: both ethics and aesthetics are linked because both deal with what we value.
Yeah.
The difference is that in ethics, our values run along concepts of morality as we try to figure out what action should be deemed good or bad. Through aesthetics, the mind evaluates what we see and feel and judges our responses using terms such as beautiful, ugly, or sublime. In other words, through ethics, we assign moral value to things, and through aesthetics, we assign artistic value to things. But more often than not, we ascribe both types of value to the same object or event. Our aesthetic reflections on our experiences shape our memories and feelings, especially when it comes to pivotal life events. So the way objects look and make us feel help us gain a sense of ourselves in the world.
Yeah. That's good.
It reminds me of that because you remembered specific things like the color.
Yeah.
You remember specific things, but probably that was also an event that shaped you
Yeah.
internally.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think
I love what you said, Tucker, about intentionality. I think that's like where it all, that's my core motivation when it comes to the way something looks or feels or sounds or smells, is like, okay, I want to be intentional about this because I want to be intentional about the people that are coming into this place. So not only at home, but here
Right.
or really wherever I am, like how can I be super intentional about the people that are walking through and stewarding what we have been blessed with. I mean, this
Right.
place is literally gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, let's steward it.
Take care of it.
Yeah, and be intentional about, you know, the way that we do decorate, or even on a normal Sunday, like making sure it's clean and making sure we have mints available, and just
Right.
like thinking of the little details helps people to see, oh wow, they are super intentional about the way they've, you know,
Yeah.
prepared.
Right. I think what I do, the teams that I lead, I think one of our big priorities is our first-time guests, because we know how difficult it can be for someone to walk back
Yeah.
into a church, either for the first time or for first time in a long time. So it's always a win when someone says, I just felt at home. I just felt welcomed.
Yeah.
And so I think we're really intentional about doing that from the second they pull into the parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, with our
Yeah.
parking team and their vests and their wands and they're being silly out there to the time they leave, and a greeter is hopefully, you know, opening
Yeah.
the door and
Yeah.
telling them to have a great week. So I think
I
all
love
of it
that.
just kind of works together. But I think it kind of the environment dictates what we find important, like what our priorities are. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for us, first time guests is something that we just really value, and we know how difficult that
Yeah.
is for someone to walk into the building. So we have a space just for the first time guests. Or
Yeah.
you know, we were talking about all of our areas to like have community and fellowship, because that's important to us. You know,
Yeah.
we created a space that really highlights the things that we think matter.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's good. I love the whole thing. What you said about first time guests, it reminds me, old Larry Bry from Elevation. I'll never forget it. I was part of a church plant in Kentucky, and he came and he said something that always stood with me. He said, your level of honor will determine your level of preparation.
Yeah.
In other words, if you were to find out that your like most like in shock celebrity were to come to your house tonight, like if your celebrity crush or your favorite band or your favorite celebrity was to come to your house tomorrow night, how much would you prepare?
Oh, I'd be rushing home right now.
He said, therefore, he said, how much you prepare reflects how much you honor their arrival.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it's just such a beautiful thing, because that is the thing that we don't want to take for granted, is that every single week there are people actually coming into our space.
Yeah.
This is going to be their first impression of Jesus, their first
Right.
impression of,
Right.
and Andy Stanley, he has this book forever ago called Deep and Wide. He said, everything before the sermon is a sermon.
Yeah.
He said, when you show up and you see that things are a mess or people aren't prepared, he said, people, that's telling them a sermon. Whether it's average or creative, whether it's
Yeah.
clean or it's cluttered, whatever it is, before they ever get in here to hear that sermon, that's preaching a sermon to them
Yeah.
about what actually matters
Yeah.
and how much we value them.
Something my servant leaders have heard me say over and over again is you just don't know what will be a barrier for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
there's certain places that I don't like to go to if there's ever a chance I would have to use the bathroom, because I know their bathrooms are gross. You know what I mean?
Put them on blast, who?
Hobby Lobby.
Hobby Lobby, really?
Oh.
Yes, I love doing crafts, but their bathrooms are always
Honestly,
not on point.
I love me a good Target trip, but Target bathrooms are terrible.
Yeah. So
That's
you just
funny.
don't know.
But Chick-fil-A's not.
Right. That's
So
true.
you just don't know what the, you know, an overflowing trash can or an empty paper towel roll or a rogue coffee cup. You just don't know what someone's going to notice and be like, oh,
Yeah.
they're unintentional. They don't care. You know, I don't know.
Or
You
even if
just
they
know.
don't recognize, you still recognize
It
it.
could be
Even if you don't
subconscious,
care, like
Right.
we do about
Yeah.
it, you still recognize
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because even the people that probably the four of us care more than the average person.
Right.
But even the average person that wouldn't, even if they wouldn't articulate it, it all goes into the combined thing they experience, whether they realize it or not.
Exactly.
Like when you walk into a space, the combined sum total of what people experience, from the aesthetics to their interactions with people to it all creates together a filter. I heard like forever ago, when I used to lead small groups, I watched this, like when Elevation first started, Stephen Furtick, this small group thing he's talking about when you're preparing your home for people to come. He made this statement I thought was so good. He said, environment is usually the last 10% we think about, but it's the first 10% that people notice.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times in a lot of spaces for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about having music on, the lights on, the AC on, this ready, that ready, that ready. But when people show up, they'll notice.
Yeah.
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 So true.
One thing that this reminds me of is when I first started working at the church, it was during quarantine, and so we would have these nights where we would come in and record worship that would happen that Sunday. And it was always like really long nights, and they were just not fun because no one's in the room, and it's just different. And so one of the nights we were like, how can we combat this? Like, me and Trey were talking. Trey's my boss, does worship. And we were like, how are we going to combat this? And so one night we played music as people walked in, and it changed everything.
wow.
Like,
Yeah.
you just play this like upbeat music,
Yeah.
and you kind of walk in, you're like, all right, like I can do this. And it changed everything. Like,
Yeah.
attitudes were up.
Yeah.
And
Isn't it crazy the difference that makes?
yeah.
Last night we we had a prayer team night. That is not usually the rowdiest bunch.
What do you mean?
They were rowdy.
I mean, but you know, we try to set it up, and we had graphics and music and all that going, and then we put people in huddles or groups and just did the stupidest, corniest things. All right, you have 1 minute to decide, and then Hunter would put the music up high, your favorite movie, and decide, go. And then we ended it with each group had to decide in 40 seconds or less their favorite song, and together sing a chorus from that song.
Aww.
And it was the rowdiest, funniest.
Yeah.
But you forget. That's why I wanted to circle back to what you said about even when you're leading worship.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to aesthetics and when it comes to, we underestimate the power we have to shift a room.
Yeah.
To not just read a room, but to shift a room. To be all corny, you've heard it said you can either be a thermometer or a thermostat. But the idea that we can, if we see the option and see the opportunity, step into that role of actually lifting a room, lifting the energy, lifting the spirit, speaking. I think we all know it's like to walk into a room and it's just sour.
Yeah.
You can lift a room.
Yeah.
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 I think about like when you walk into a restaurant, like as soon as you walk in, based on the atmosphere, based on the environment, the quality of food you're expecting, the quality of service you're expecting, you know what I mean, the way you behave or act or dress based on the environment. Like it dictates everything. The music, like if you walk in and there's country music, it's very different than...
Hope's going to love it.
Hope would love it. You can put your peanut shells on the floor probably.
That's
But
right.
if you want to... But if you
Whoa,
walk
that's a
in-
stereotype.
But if they have tablecloths,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a little different.
True.
Yeah.
Talk a little lower.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does dictate everything.
When I worked at Starbucks, I worked at Starbucks for a long time, and I would always get put on the window. And everyone that comes to Starbucks is so grumpy. Like, this is a PSA. If you're going to Starbucks, like, just smile. Because no one smiles, and everyone, I know that, like, you need coffee to get going. But people act like they can't even interact with the person before they have a cup of coffee. So they would pull up to the window, and I'm like, me, big old personality.
Yeah.
Good morning. How are you today? What are you doing today? And they're like, oh, like, here you go. And it's just like, they're so caught off guard when someone talks to them in a drive-thru. Like, it's like, hey, what are you doing today? And it's like, oh, why do you care? And it's like, I know when I'm in a drive-thru, I don't want to talk to the person about what I'm doing. But it does like shift things. There's maybe that's like the only person that will hear that whole entire week. Like, what are you doing this weekend?
Yeah. I actually was going to bring that up. I think Raina and I were talking. We were like, does anyone care about environment, like, for real? But people care, obviously.
they do.
But we, like you've said multiple times, we probably care a little more than the average person. But it's more than just like the way that the chairs were set out or whatever. It's creating an environment is literally the way you interact with people too. Like I try to create, when I walk into a space, like I think about the way that I'm going to act,
Right.
the way that I'm going to treat people, because that all goes into it as well. It's like the five senses, what you see, smell, hear, all the things.
Yeah.
So the way you treat someone has so much to do with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if a place is void, I mean, we gotta be realistic. You can have the most beautiful, inspiring place, but if the culture's bad inside, it's vain. It's useless.
Right.
If the emotional, cultural climate is cold and aloof, and people aren't approachable, and there's not life and laughter, the most beautiful thing to me about our space, to me, a great space should do two things, even before you get to culture. It should be inspiring and comforting.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me, when I think about like our space, especially our foyer that's tall ceilings, it's clean, but I think it's inspiring, but it also feels like you're at home. And to me, a great space, what I like when I go into coffee shops and go in places, when I go in my home, I want it to be inspiring, but also comforting. But then from there, what matters the most, that to me, that should be one person, that should be one unspoken character. I forget who, what author talked about this, but your setting is one character. It's a character that's always speaking. But if the other character of culture isn't speaking, then it's worthless.
Right.
And so to me, it's like, how do you create a space that's inspiring, but then, a culture that's, I love how Chris Hodges defines life-giving. You want to be there. You want to stay. That was actually really cool last night. We were talking, because again, prayer team meetings, not always maybe the most exciting, and we went a little bit long. And so I was like, oh, we went a little bit long. People stayed for an hour afterwards and just lingered and lingered. And so maybe on that note of culture, what do you think makes good cultural environment? Maybe even start with work. What's interesting is someone wrote in, they I don't know if you saw it, it was a YouTube comment on one of our last couple, and they were talking about education and how the education system is so toxic in ways. And he's like, I'd love for y'all to address sometime the church environment, because I know it's just so toxic. And I was thinking, a lot are, but I've worked at a few different churches, and I mean, it sounds easy for me to say this. I know I'm biased, but I think we have an incredible culture. We're never gonna be perfect, but when I think of our staff culture and I think of culture on Sundays, to me, like it's life-giving. People want to be around it. There's laughter. There's joy. There's teamwork. We don't work in silos. A lot of churches, traditional churches, they just work in silos. You do your things. There's a lot of territorialness. There's pettiness. There's gossip. There's, so
I think a key thing that we've really dialed in on is we have such an eclectic group of people at our church. I mean, you walk in our doors and hopefully everyone feels at home, because you're going to see someone that you can relate to. I mean, there's people of all ages. There's people that dress up. There's people that don't dress up. We've got people that, have tattoos, or people that are just, dressed to the nines when they come in. You know what I mean? It's everyone, there's just a little bit of everything, I think. And ideally everyone feels welcome there, but hopefully they come in and they see themselves, and they know that they can just be themselves, because we're not trying to be something that we're not. We're not all the same. You know what I mean? Like, if you walk into a church and everyone's the same and you don't fit that mold, then it's kind of like you're not going to feel welcome. You're not going to want to hang out there. But I love seeing all the diverse people in our church, and they interact with each other and are in circles together and serve together, and they learn from each other. And I think that's a really good part of our culture.
I love that.
I remember when I was like interviewing, getting ready to move here, and the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure of was that the culture of the staff was good. And something that's really important to me is that we just have each other's backs. And that has been so true. Like, since day one, it has been so true that no matter the day, no matter the project, no matter what we're doing, we have each other's backs. And I think it all goes back to honor. Like, we all choose to honor each other and, like, support each other. I think, Tucker, every time you show us something that is, like, you've created or you've designed, it's like, we're all like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. That's so cool. And that, seriously, that is what builds good culture, is, like, honoring each other, celebrating each other. Like, celebration will change the culture. So it's just cool to be able to work in an environment like that, and also just to have people that come alongside you, community that comes alongside you and honors you.
And that's taking time to build that. I mean, you've been here longer than I have, but I mean, right now we're kind of like a peek into some of our cultural stuff as we get together every Monday morning for a rally. And right now we're looking at how to switch things up and what do we need moving forward. But for a few years, as a building block, what was really helpful is we took two of our values, celebration and honor, and we practice them every Monday, where we pass around a football and we take time to just see each other, celebrate each other's differences, different giftings, different contributions, celebrate what God did, and be grateful, but then also honor each other. And weaving that into the culture has made a huge difference. What about you?
I think, like, being on staff and really just any environment that I love to be in is like a fun environment, but like,
we know.
I love to have a good time, but I also like for people to take things like seriously, and I think that's like a hard balance to find. But that's what I feel like we really have. I mean, even like the people that serve on worship, it's like it's a really big deal what we're doing, but it's also really fun. And it's like, don't take yourself too seriously, like laugh and make fun of yourself. And I feel like, especially in the creative world, like people take themselves so seriously. And I think the best part about it is like, you don't forget to have fun while you're doing it. And I like to have fun.
You like to have fun?
Yeah.
How many times can you say
I like to have fun.
No, that's good. What would you, I mean, because I think all four of us are grateful for what we get to be a part of. I'm curious for somebody listening that's like, okay, look, I don't see my job changing anytime soon. And I kind of feel like I'm in kind of a downer environment. It's kind of, I'm not the boss. I don't, just put you on the spot. What would you say to somebody of like, what's a couple practical things you can do to maybe help shift culture where you're at?
I think like clean your environment. Like
Yeah.
cleaning your house will change your whole mindset. Like I am
That's so true.
I'm like a messy person. Like I'm super messy. Raina like can follow a trail of where I've
Yes,
been
I
throughout
can.
the day.
Yeah.
Like I leave mint wrappers everywhere. But I'm telling you what, if I come home to like a clean room, it changes my day.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
Or if I wake up and I make my bed, and then when I come
Yeah.
home, it changes everything.
Making your bed's the number one important thing to do.
Really?
For every day.
Someone bought me a
Yes.
book by a
no.
general in the army, and it's called "Make Your Bed Every Day." It's literally called that, and it's this whole thing. I'm curious. Okay, because you're right, Marie Kondo. There is something powerful, and I'm just gonna be honest. I believe in the power, and I will do it. But I am bad at.
You don't every day.
I don't every day. That's what I'm bad at. Like, I know people are like, well, if you'll just do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that. But when I don't know if y'all are like this. I just come to a point where I'm like, enough's enough. And I will just spend 2 hours and just mass clean my
Yes.
apartment.
Like at 2 a.m. That's
Yes.
when the best
Yes.
cleaning happens, when you
Yeah.
like can't sleep.
Yeah.
Or what really helps is if I know I'm having company, like you, every time you and Paige and Tommy come over, I'm like, okay, this gives an excuse. This makes me want to, make my.
You do.
Yeah.
He has like the water jug set up, the
Yeah.
strawberries sliced up. Like,
Yeah. But like
Were
2
you there?
hours
Paige
before.
came in with Tommy and she was like, my heart's soggy.
Yeah.
Because I am weird. I love my apartment very much feels like me. Looks like what you would think if you know me it would look like. And then I'll have the candles. I have my JBL playlist going, and I have the water jug, and it looks
But
like
2 hours before it was like mass chaos.
and it never gets like awful, but it can get close occasionally.
yeah.
Same.
So I have a different point of view than all of that.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I like when people are coming over to bring them in on all of that. So I don't want everything to be just perfect when they walk in, because I feel like they'll feel more welcome, like they'll feel more at home if they're helping me cut the strawberries. You know what I mean? Like if I have them washed and ready,
Okay.
but they're helping me with that. Like I feel like if
Okay.
it's too perfect, the second they walk in, they're gonna be like,
I'm like taking notes.
Huh.
Raina's like, I messed my house up.
Yeah.
She's like, I throw
But
blankets on the
I
floor.
just feel like if they're a part of that process,
Yeah.
they feel more at home and at
Yeah.
ease.
So I should be like, Tommy, here's the toilet bowl cleaner. Can you go?
No,
No, don't do that.
not like that. No,
Okay.
that's taking a little too far.
Because I don't like doing that.
Yeah. But I do think if you have a work environment that you're like, it's
Yeah.
such a downer.
Yeah.
It's like take your
Yeah.
computer and go to a coffee shop and change up your environment.
Yeah.
Because just like a different vibe or like we said, a clean space, it can change your whole mindset. It's your whole mood.
I was working at the Buckle forever ago, and I know.
Okay, Buckle.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So, peace out, Buckle. So, I had the whole register was a mess, and I'll never forget this girl. One of my coworkers, she clocked in, she walked over, and she said a statement, just deadpan. She was like, "I feel like my life is in chaos because this is in chaos."
I say that all the time.
Really?
Yes. If my apartment or car are a mess, I just feel like nothing's in order. Like
Do you feel?
nothing.
Let me ask you. Do you feel like it reflects? So, to me, this is a little too deep. Erwin McManus contends that your outer world reflects your inner world. He made a statement one time. I was in a podcast. I was driving down the road. I gasped out loud because my Achilles heel is the car. That's my Achilles heel. And he made a statement. He said, "I can peer into your car and peer into your soul."
Yup.
And I was like, "Oh Jesus, God, don't let that ever be close to true." Do you believe
Yeah.
that?
That's true.
Well, Raina's soul is very clean because her
Yeah.
car is very clean.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think when I think about it, because growing up, I've gotten cleaner as I've grown up. So like
Same.
when I was little, I was messy.
Yes.
But I like didn't care about it. But I think as I've grown up and the more as mature as I've gotten,
Yeah.
the more mature
Yeah.
I get, the cleaner my space is.
Yeah. You do. You begin to value it more.
Yeah.
Well, and I think life gets crazy and busy, and you might have a bad day at work, and to get in your car and have it be clean,
Yes.
or get home and have your bed made,
Yeah.
like it's almost like, okay.
It does
Yeah.
give
It
you
makes a difference.
a deeper sense of peace when your space is at peace.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. I'm curious. What else would you say? Even just like culturally, let's say, what would you tell somebody if they're in a tough environment and
Yeah.
how they shift that?
I feel like I am either like all in or all out when it comes to things. And so my brain instantly is like, I want to change it all and like do it all today. Like if I were in that place, I would be like, okay, today's the day. I'm just changing it all. But if we're honest, that's not how change happens. It's like in a slow, steady process. So I feel like just daily, like doing one thing that you lead the way. Like if you're not seeing someone else lead the way, you take charge, you lead the way. And if it looks like buying your coworker a coffee or like taking time to ask them how their day was or something that's going on in their family. I think even if you're not working in a church, even if you're not working in ministry, it's super easy to just bring ministry into your workplace. So just doing one small thing a day, like I think you can see a difference in someone else, but also a difference within your own heart and your own life.
I mean, I think like the buying the coffee thing, I think that's great. Like just bring donuts in for your office. Like if it's a serious office, I mean, who doesn't love that? You know, just to bring the staff together or invite someone new to go out to lunch with you, someone that you don't normally talk to maybe in the office. That would really, I think, bring people together. And I wouldn't be afraid to go to like your supervisor or someone with ideas. Like, hey, what if we did like a fun thing at lunch this week? Or, you know, if you can find like an inexpensive way to just bring people together. I don't know. I think that would be good.
Yeah, you guys do like those blue sky day things. Where don't you just go out and like dream?
Yeah, we do. We're probably overdue for one. I was actually making a note we need to do one for fall, but I ripped the idea off from a leader from Chicago forever ago. Had a huge church, and he talked about several times a year he would take his staff out for Blue Sky Day, and it's just a day, blue skies, dream, sky's the limit. And so we started doing that, and we'll at least 2-3 times a year we will go out full day, off-site, somewhere inspiring or that we like, and we'll coffee shop, we'll walk, and everybody has to bring ideas, and usually it's somewhere around the idea of, okay, if money was not an obstacle, if you could do anything, let's dream. And then we usually also end up talking about personally, hey, in your life this year, what are your personal dreams? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? And we have several of our team that say those days refill me, replenish me, and it's so good. I just thought it'd be fun to have a conversation. I think it could be more important than we know, and I think that you know, there's this book I read forever ago by John Mark Comer called Garden City. And it's just this whole idea that we don't think of it as very spiritual, but the stewardship that God gave Adam and Eve to steward and cultivate their environment. And the idea that in all of our lives, with our home, our spaces, our work environments, we're literally giving this word, I think, that has more power, which is stewardship. I have the stewardship to cultivate a space in my little apartment that could be life-giving to me and those that come in. I have the power in my office and in my work influences to cultivate a life-giving environment emotionally, with my words, with my spirit, with my space that's life-giving. We have the stewardship in this space, and we're so thankful for it, to cultivate a place that's life-giving. For that, months before somebody maybe even believe in God, they walk in and say, I don't even know why I want to keep coming back, but I do.
I just want to be here.
I just want to be here. We have people that come in that's like, I just want to be here. And I thought about, I think I may have heard somebody use this example, but in like the Scandinavian countries, you know, there's that weird phenomenon where they have really, really long days or really, really short days. So me and my dad went to Iceland last year, and there was only 3 hours of darkness.
Wow.
This is the weirdest thing in the world.
That's so weird.
It's so weird. So like we had to put all the blinds down and
You had an eye
like
mask.
put an eye mask. I don't even remember if I did. I should have. But I mean, literally 3 hours. And thank God we didn't go during winter, because during winter there's only like, I think for 4 or 5 months there's no light at all.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No.
But what's crazy is, I bring that up because the limitation of that has caused them to become the most creative place in the world in the expression of light. So if you go to Iceland or any of those Scandinavian countries, first off, phosphorescent lights don't exist. All of their spaces, because half of the year is just night, all their spaces are filled with the most beautiful and strategically placed soft lighting to where you walk into a space and it is the most breathtaking thing. I've heard people talk about they've walked into a space with that kind of light and they just begin to weep. The expression, the limitation of how dark their environment was caused them to be so creative in being the most beautiful expressions of light in the entire world.
Wow.
And I just thought that was such a beautiful picture of like, no matter what your environment's like, no matter what the environment of the world is like, that really, it sounds cheesy, we can just shine brighter. We can create spaces that are beautiful, that are life-giving, that glow.
Yes.
And so.
So good.
Any closing thoughts before you get married?
No. Clean your room.
Clean your room.
Make your bed.
Use essential oils.
Use essential oils.
I'm about to go clean my room today.
I know. I'm about to go and make my bed.
I'm gonna clean my car.
I'm gonna clean my freaking car.
room.
Yeah, you do need to clean your car.
I need to clean my car.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to get on Raina's level.
Yeah.
Raina, give us some parting wisdom advice.
Yes.
For all of us that want to make our spaces, our environments, our lives better.
Just remember the details God gave in creating the ark and the tabernacle.
All right.
He's a little OCD.
Okay.
And so it's okay if you care about the details. Because God cared about the details.
That's good.
That's good.
There
That's
you
just
go.
Just saying, I always think about that when people are like, you're so OCD. I'm like, well, so was God.
Listen, I knew that Raina was Miss Hospitality when I started taking gum from her desk and I complained about the gum she had and she bought gum to keep in her desk for me.
Oh.
Isn't that the sweetest thing
Oh,
And
that's
Tide
awesome.
wipes.
ever? And Tide wipes because I'm messy.
Yeah. And snacks.
Yeah.
She just takes care of you.
Raina's
I
the
think.
best.
The beef sticks, the
Raina's
keto
my
beef
work mom.
sticks.
Oh,
So,
I love
yeah,
it.
I love that.
It's okay to care about the details.
Yes, it is.
So
Yes,
good.
it is. Got anything?
Man, I don't know. I think just remembering your spirit matters when it comes to environment. Like as we sit here, have the conversation, I'm like, I just want to be the person that walks in and is like just so mindful of the way that I'm acting, the way that I'm talking, the way that I'm interacting with people, because it really does matter so much.
That's so good. And no shame or condemnation if you got a messy space, but more than anything, I just thought this could be a conversation just to inspire. Like, there's more power than we know in the environments we shape, not just on ourselves, but the people that enter them. So thank y'all for being on.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been fun. Congratulations, Tucker.
Thank you.
About to be married.
Yes.
Shout out to Anna.
Shout out to Anna, soon to be Johnson.
Yes.
Aw, cute.
Where y'all going for your honeymoon again?
Cancun.
Cancun.
Nice.
That's going to be a nice environment.
And that will be
That
a nice
environment's gonna go
environment.
crazy.
God created a great environment there.
Yeah.
God's all about environment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who cares?
And then while we have you here, you have a single coming out.
Yeah, I do.
Talk about it.
I wrote a song for Anna as a wedding present,
So cute.
and it will be coming out on Spotify a week from yesterday.
Guys,
Oh,
it's
wow.
I
good.
didn't know.
So say the
So
date.
should I sing it? The whole thing
Do
right
it.
now?
Do it right now. Right now.
You,
No.
What's the chorus? One line.
I can't do it.
One line.
You do it.
Yes. No. You're singing in the kitchen. No.
Yeah.
Singing in the kitchen.
Singing in the
Singing
kitchen.
in the kitchen. August 2nd, 2022. I didn't know. Tucker Johnson, Spotify.
It's so good.
It's good.
And worship album. Do you have a date?
I can't say it yet.
Oh, you can't say it yet. Okay.
But soon.
But soon.
It's a surprise.
Okay.
but
Hey,
very soon.
Follow at X Worship. No vowels.
XWRSHP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
All right. Follow them. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Let us know your environment hacks, your cleaning tips,
Yep.
and anything you notice. Quickly, favorite outside of church or your home, some of your favorite environments,
Oh my gosh.
like coffee shop, restaurant,
Okay.
place,
Parable.
Terrible.
Yeah, I can't say.
I mean,
parable.
absolutely.
I don't know. Why did you put me on the spot?
You-
It's so stressful.
Besides Parable.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I can't say parable.
Shout out to Parable. You.
Shades.
You lie. You lie.
Okay, but we love
Okay,
Shades.
listen, I
we
love
love
Shades.
Shades.
Shades is like
You
just
feel
a
at home
piece
there.
Of home. You walk in
Yeah.
and feel
Okay.
like you're at home.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's
Okay.
true. That is
Yeah,
true.
favorite environment.
Stoffs in what?
Victorian Village.
Victorian
then
Village.
you renovated one.
So
Beautiful.
Box of snow.
good.
Mm.
So good.
Clean. There's a place in Virginia called Golf Park. If you're ever in Virginia, there's the best coffee shop in the whole world called Golf Park.
Nashville is full of places. I'm just saying.
Oh, I love Nashville.
Yeah, we got to channel our inner Nashville here in Columbus.
All right. We love you. Let us know if this meandering conversation was inspiring to you, helpful. And if it was, share it with somebody. Don't forget to like it, rate it 5 stars as always. If you've not subscribed, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
And clean your room.
And clean your room. And if you want to, you can clean my room. All right. Bye.